So today I'm going to be catching up on plying. I have a lot of it backed up at the moment. It tends to be something I don't like to do very often, not because I don't enjoy plying, but because I really don't like skeins. But there is a lot of it, so it's going to be what I focus on today. So there'll be a bunch of little clips of me plying up yarns, and at the end I'll show you how many bobbins I get full. This particular yarn has 2 plies of merino and 1 ply of gray Shetland, so it's pretty soft. And the merino is matched to some other yarns I'm creating because they have the same merino in them. So it'll all be together for one larger project. The nice thing about plying is it does go pretty fast. The merino was from, what is that one? Spunky Eclectic. I get the fiber package every single month. This one was a cat themed one, so I matched it with different grays and white fibers for a few different cat themed skeins. I don't know. I really like calico cats, so that's kind of what I was going for. The Shetland part is from Tenny's Fiber Farm. And I'll link all of these below. For the wheel itself, it's an Ashford Kiwi 2. At the moment I have the tension set really high so it'll take in really fast. For plying, that's my preference. I am not good at ratios. It is on the bigger of the 2 whorls, I keep it on the bigger of the 2 whorls almost 100% of the time, if I'm being honest. I don't really play with it much. One, we're getting close to being done. Alright, so our second ply for today is going to be this incredibly bright one. It's all little neon bits that I got from a grab bag of little bits of fibers. The shop was called Stitchery. They are the same person that also does, I think it's called frabjous fibers. So they're just the little bits left over from dyeing. And then I arranged them in a super colorful way. So it's going to be 2 plies of this and 1 ply of the same gray Shetland that I used on the last one, because I have some left over and I prefer a 3-ply yarn. I don't really know what I'll use it for, but I used a lot of bright colors, so it will definitely get used for something. Just tie that to my leader. Move that to the back. Get that started. Getting it started is always a kind of a hassle, but eventually it goes. It's really bright, and I like that. A lot of times I will use my ball winder to put my singles into a center pull, and then I'll work from both the outside and the inside at the same time, so I can do a 2-ply or 2 plies of the same singles. Technically there are other techniques for doing this, but most of the time I'm working in 4-ounce or more quantities, so I don't necessarily want to do the other techniques. Like one of them involves wrapping around your hand, but if I wrap 4 ounces around my hand, that generally speaking will cut off circulation in my fingers. It's not pleasant. I am actually really excited for this one now because it is really, really pretty. The fibers themselves, since it was a grab bag for the ones from Stitchery, it's just little bits of whatever she uses. So I know there's a lot of merino and BFL. There is probably some silk, and I think there was some tencel in there too. There might be some Polworth. It's hard to tell Polworth from merino when it's in little dyed bits like that. Like, they feel very similar. Especially her Polworth. Her Polworth's super soft. I have a ton of her fiber, so you will see my stuff from her a lot. Let's move that a little so it doesn't get too bound up. There we go. And let's see. Yeah, I guess my other larger ball to skein is also mostly her fiber, I think. But we'll get to that one. That one will probably take 3 bobbins to finish. I probably should buy more bobbins. I think I have 12 right now, which sounds like a lot, but when you're plying, you go through them so fast. I do like using a neutral 3rd ply, so 2 really bright or wild or colorful plies, or even 2 plies with a lot of texture, and then one that's way more basic just to tie everything together. So in this case, the 2 neons and then the gray, or in the last one, the 2 kind of variegated cat themed plies and then the gray. It makes everything a little bit more usable, especially when you have really wild colors. It makes it match more things. It just ties the whole skein together. It's a nice way to work with it. This will probably take 2 bobbins for this one. When I'm skeining them, I'll just felt join them into one long skein, because that's my preference. You don't have to do that. You could also just have 2 smaller skeins. It doesn't really matter. For organization purposes, I like to keep them as one larger skein so I can just label them all at once. Yeah, we're starting to overflow this part of the bobbin, so let's fix that a little bit. There we go. You can tell when you need to move it down too, because suddenly it won't be taking up yarn as well. That or it got caught, like snagged on something. It could be either one. You just pause the wheel and adjust accordingly. It's really pretty right now actually, because it's like a neon yellow color with a fuchsia, and then, you know, the gray ply that doesn't really change. I don't know, I really like that color combo. It looks really nice. The other nice thing about having it in a center pole is that it has a flat bottom part, so it just kind of sits there on the ground, and I don't really have to worry about it. With the ball, when I put them in balls before plying, I usually have to put a box or something on the floor, keep them corralled. I'll have a yarn bowl soon, which might help. I'm not certain on that, but we will see. We'll test it out. I'll film it even. You can find out. But yeah, the center poles just stay where they're put, which is great. That said, I should probably replace my ball winder at some point. It's probably 10 years old and kind of loud. I was not expecting this to be such a long video. I will stop the camera and then I will restart it when I get to the next skein, because otherwise we're going to have like 30 minutes of just this. Alright, so I finally finished the neon one. For the next things I have to ply, I have some older breed studies I haven't worked on in probably a year. The singles have just been sitting in my stash. I really need to get them plied. So this one is called Gamel Norsk Sow. I have no idea how to actually pronounce that. These were the Norse breeds that I got samples of from the Spinning Loft. They're really great if you want to try small amounts of various breeds in raw form. They have a pretty wide variety usually. So I've got Gamel Norsk Sow, which was a lot like Icelandic. You know, the 2-part coat with one with it's like a longer part, one that's a sort of a downy undercoat. And then we also have Grå Trondersow, which I think is the same as Gray Troender. I'm not really sure. That one was similar to Black Welsh Mountain. So I'm just going to get these plied up into 2 plies. They're in cakes right now. I've been keeping them in the bag so I can remember which one's which, because it should be easy, but I have a really bad memory. These are going to be pretty chunky. I didn't really process them much. I just kind of wanted to experience them. And it was from a while ago. My spinning's improved a bit since then. So let's at least get this one plied up on camera. After that, I have 2 large ply balls of 3-ply ready to ply. I don't think I'm going to film all of plying that, because then this video would be 2 hours long. And that's a very long video for your first video. So I will probably ply those off camera and then just film a video at the end showing everything I've done and talking about it more. So let's finish up these breed studies from forever ago. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this yarn. It's very chunky. Nowadays I would have processed these a bit better, but I didn't really enjoy working with them. I got into a kick of just spinning really soft wools for a while, so lots of BFL, lots of Merino and Polworth and Cormo and fine Shetland, and all of those are great. I love them. But it is kind of fun to spin the more rustic, primitive breeds once in a while too, especially since some of these are becoming really rare, and I don't want sheep breeds to go extinct. I like trying out new things. I like how pretty the different breeds are. So this one is part of that, trying out something new, seeing how it comes out. This is going to fill the bobbin super fast because it's so chunky. It's also going to look really, really overplied, and that is because these singles have been sitting for over a year. So the twist is a little funky at the moment. Once I wash it and snap it out, the original twist will probably reactivate. Probably, it's not an exact science. In which case it'll look more even. Not that it really matters that much in the long run. I don't know what I'm making with these. I am hoping to start another breed study project soon. I used to be really into doing that, and then I kind of got out of practice of spinning in general, and then I, as I said, mostly spun soft stuff for a while. I do like spinning from the heritage breed list. I still have some breeds from that I haven't actually done yet for the Shave 'em to Save 'em initiative. Okay, I'm going to turn up the tension and see if that helps, because this is being annoying. Oh, that's much better. So I'll probably do those on camera at some point. I have also ordered a monthly breed study, but it hasn't arrived yet. It's coming from Canada, so with all of the issues with the post office lately, I don't really know how long that'll take to start coming in. I'm excited though. They do like a locally processed small batch wool. It's going to be roving instead of top, which I'm just really excited for. Top tends to be really, really processed. So for some breeds, it takes away all the character, and I don't really get to experience it the way I want to. On the other hand, I don't like buying raw all the time because it's such a pain in the butt to process it in a tiny apartment. Someday I will have a garage and I will process it in there. Or something. Alright, as I'm plying this, the longer, I'm going to go with guard hair, let's call it guard hair. The longer hairs are gathering in my left hand. So by the time I'm done, I'm going to have a handful of hair. Not really surprising. I think that happened with Icelandic as well. And some of the more rustic Shetland. It also happens when you spin dog, because dog hair has that same sort of long outer coat, fluffy, downy undercoat thing. I don't usually spin dog, but I did try it because I like to try everything once. I think it was a husky or a Samoyed, I'm not sure which one. I forget. For a while I had a sample of wolf in my stash, but I don't have that anymore. I don't know where it went. That had the same thing, the rough outer coat and the downy undercoat. You can remove the outer coat, or at least most of it, kind of like you do when you're processing llama. But then the undercoat is really, really short, and it's really hard to spin, so I don't necessarily do that. I'm also just kind of lazy. Speaking of things that were lost in the mail, Mike had bought me a subscription to a magazine because they had a really good deal back in fall. So the first one I was supposed to get was the December issue, and it never came. And it was a crochet magazine. And then in February, I got my January issue. I was like, okay, so they're going to be a month behind. Maybe I'm just not getting the December issue. And then beginning of this month, I got my February issue, which was great. And then yesterday, my December issue showed up. And it was a little rough for wear, but not much. But I finally got it. So that was great. It's even better actually because the December issue had a really nice Tunisian crochet pattern in it that I wanted, so now I have it. I can actually make it, maybe someday. Maybe. Speaking of which, oh, it's over there. Okay. You know, I don't actually see Tunisian crochet with hand spun very often, so I think I'm going to give that a shot soon. I just don't know which one yet. Generally speaking, I spin yarn more than anything else, and everything else I do is just made to use up the yarn because it's a constant, never-ending cascade of yarn. Which is great. I love making yarn. It's very relaxing, and sometimes it's kind of like a mental puzzle because sometimes the fibers don't do what you expect them to do, so you have to problem solve halfway through and come up with some new way of doing it. Or sometimes when you're washing them, there'll be something unexpected about it, like maybe the fleece had a really bad year and it has a break in it, and now I have to figure out how to deal with that. How am I going to process this wool without getting lots of neps, or without the finished yarn pilling a lot? Or maybe I'll be spinning and it's just constantly breaking and I don't know why. Adjust the tension, adjust the ratio, adjust everything, adjust my drafting method. Maybe none of that works and I have to recard it in a different way or add another fiber to it to strengthen it. It's just constantly trying new things, but at the same time applying knowledge from the previous things I've tried. And I don't know, I really like it. It doesn't sound like it would be that mentally stimulating, but it is. There's also just 1.5 million different techniques to try that I haven't done yet. Probably more than that, actually. Oh, come on, stop that. I should probably upgrade to the jumbo one so that it has a bigger orifice. Next department. I'll get a second wheel. Well, okay, actually I have a second wheel. Right now it's put away because I don't have room for it in the living room. But ideally I would like to have a second Ashford Kiwi. One set up with the jumbo orifice and the jumbo bobbins, and then the other one set up just like this, because I do really like the 4-ounce bobbins for sampling things, for monthly, oh, this is getting annoying, monthly packages. I get, let's see, I get Spunky Eclectics monthly fiber club, and I get Paradise Fibers monthly fiber club. And then when that breed study comes, I think that's a 4-ounce one as well. That one's from Longway Homestead. So that's a lot of just little things to spin each month, plus whatever breed studies I choose or don't choose to do. I want to get back into them, but they are kind of annoying. Stupid thing. That was my own fault. But that's okay, you get to see problem solving. Alright, I'm just gonna have to wind it on by hand, I think. It's all spun, it's just not winding on the bobbin very well because it's so thick. Why are all your yarns worsted weight or smaller? Because my spinning wheel doesn't like anything bigger than that. There we go. Alright, let's set up the next bobbin. Note to self, buy an orifice hook. Normally I have a crochet hook next to me. I keep forgetting to put one over here within reaching distance. They are over here, but I cannot reach them without getting up. Come on. Ah! Okay, scissors it is. No, come back. There we go. Ha. Alright. Bra Tronder Sow. Gray Trowender. This one's not quite as chunky as the other one, so maybe my wheel won't have as many issues. Maybe. It's not particularly soft. I mean, they're pretty rustic. They were studies, so I also didn't really care to do that much processing at the time. I still don't really enjoy processing, if I'm being honest. I'd prefer to just buy everything as roving or bats and be really lazy. I don't always do that. I have some fleeces in my stash right now that I will card up at some point and spin, probably on camera. But it doesn't mean I like it. Come on. There we go. The wheel's angry at me. It's loud today. It is greased. It's just sometimes when I turn the tension way up, it gets a little loud. Come on. Take it. I know it's lumpy, but take it. Thank you. I would love to get the one with the larger orifice also so that I can do the really crazy art yarns. I'd love to do one with beads, but there's no way I could get beads into this. It would fight me. It would fight me every step of the way. Actually, I've always thought it would be cool to do one with like really small shell buttons. I have no idea what I would do with that yarn, but it would look cool. Maybe I would just hang it on the wall as a piece of art, because that's totally normal. Not that this is necessarily that normal hobby anyways. Sometimes it gets really messy and really weird. Like microwaving wool in the microwave with Kool-Aid to make it bright pink weird. Although it does make a really nice pink. So, nothing wrong with Kool-Aid. Come on. That's not really helping. Okay. I'm just gonna have to wind it on by hand occasionally because it's not liking me today. That's okay. It just doesn't like chunky yarn, which I already knew that. It's just gonna be really annoying. Now that I think about it, that's probably the other reason I left these alone for so long, because I knew it was going to do this. What are you... You're just not happy for some reason. I know it's lumpy, but you can handle it. Nope, gonna do it to me again. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna film this because this is just torturous, but you will see it at the end. Alright, so first things first, I apparently only have 10 bobbins, not 12. I should really buy more, honestly. Secondly, I have 3 bobbins left clear. This is gonna take at least 5, so I'm going to have to take some yarn off some bobbins. but I'm going to try and get this plied first. This one is part of the Calico Cat project, so it has one ply of the merino from Spunky Eclectic, and then the other two plies are one ply white and the other ply charcoal of the Gotland tweed I got in my February Paradise Fiber subscription. And I just feel like together they're very Calico Cat. And they're also crazy soft. So I should get 2 4-ounce skeins out of this. And that goes with the other ones that I've already plied. So at the end you'll see them all together. I'm not going to film this because, like I said, I'm going to have to take some yarn off some bobbins. But at least you know what it looks like. And I'm also going to show you this one before I start. This one is pretty crazy, but it is fun. So it's 3 plies, where 2 of the plies are from my various scraps of Frabjous Fibers stuff that I get from the Steph Knits shop. And then the 3rd ply, is that right? Let me look at that. Actually, no, this one is 3 plies of various random Frabjous Fibers Steph Knits stuff. I thought this one had some Poppy Creek in it, but it does not. So yeah, this is just, it's going to be really, really wild looking. It was just me using up some long sitting plies that needed to, I don't know, actually, that looks kind of like, okay, we'll find out. It might have one ply as I go farther in that's from bats I carded that had like long wools from Poppy Creek in there and some random mohair and stuff. So we'll see. We'll look at it all at the end. And I will see you at the very end of the day when I am done plying. Alright, so other than a few distractions, all of the plying has been done today, and all the scanning. Scanning is my least favorite part, so I am happy to finally have that done. The next step is washing all the yarns, hanging them to dry, and then after that they're free to use for anything. I don't really keep track of the weight of the yarn at this step. That usually changes after I wash them. They kind of fluff up. I did write down all the yardage, but it's not really useful for me to tell you that, I don't think. But I will show you the finished yarns, as well as a few I finished a couple days ago before I was able to film them. So let's start with the cat themed yarns, because I'm really happy with those. So we've got the one largest skein, which is 1 ply each of the charcoal and the white of the Gotland tweed, and then the 1 ply of the cat merino. It's so weird calling it that. Cat merino. Anyway, it is kind of like a calico-ish marled look. But that, I mean, that's a pretty big skein. I got some good yardage out of that. And then I have the 3 mini skeins that match, because this one's 2 plies charcoal, 2 plies white, 2 plies cat merino, 1 ply gray merino, or no, Shetland. So those look pretty cool together. I don't really know what I'm going to do with them. I kind of want to weave with them, but I feel like they need more orange to finish it up. So we'll think about that longer. For the 2 breed studies that I have been sitting on forever, I actually still have a mostly finished post on my blog that I never posted because these weren't done. Super chunky, really not much yardage here. No idea what I'm going to use them for. I don't think they'll be very useful, but they are done, and once they're washed and dried, I can take the final photos I needed for that blog post. Then it'll be done. That'll be great. The neon one I am super happy with. Look how bright that is. That's great. It's super soft too. It'll get softer after I wash it and it fluffs up, but even right now it's really soft. I don't 100% know what I'm doing with this one either. I just like playing with it. I have, let's see, this one was just the random leftover plies that I had in my box, because when I have leftover little bits of plies. I put them in a little ball and stick them in a box until I'm able to just ply them all together, use them up. So this is what that was. It's really random, pretty soft. It's probably mostly merino and BFL, and then like a little bit of silk and sparkly stuff. What else was over here? This one has 2 plies of the random plies, just like the previous skein. And then the third ply is from a bat, probably a couple bats really, that I had carded. They were merino, BFL, Angora rabbit, mohair, Wensleydale, which is a lot of texture. So this is a very textured yarn, especially as you work with it. It's going to get a halo both from the mohair and the Angora, which should make it really interesting to weave with. It would give it a lot of texture. It's also got some really crazy colors in it though, so I don't 100% know what I'm going to do with that one either. I very rarely know what I'm going to do with anything. I like making yarn. I learned other things to use the yarn. I don't really care about the other hobbies as much. I just like making yarn. So the previous ones I'd finished. This one was my March Paradise Fibers subscription. So the colorway I got, I think it was called Under the Sea. I have the paper. Let me check actually. Yeah, Under the Sea. And I just put the locks right into it. And then I had also added some like matching red and blues from my stash to stretch it out. So it's probably more like 12 ounces total instead of the 8 it would have been. So there's a lot of yardage, but it's also really chunky. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. My February, was it February? Yeah, it was February. My February Spunky Eclectic spin, I believe the breed was called Masham or Masam. Those are probably the same thing, I'm just pronouncing it wrong. But it was it's not technically a breed, it's a cross between 2 different things. Like one of them's a rustic breed, and the other one's a long wool, and then the results are called Masham or Masam or something like that. So I just spun it single ply. It's gonna be pretty rustic. It was a fairly long staple length, so I'm not really worried about it pilling necessarily. It'll probably get a little bit of a halo. I just really like how long wool or long wool relatives show stitches when it's a single ply yarn. It makes for a really cool look, and the colors are like my favorite colors. I love these, like the bright greens with the grays, almost purple. I really like this one. And finally, this one is okay. So from Tenny's Fiber Farm, I ordered the 10-pound mill ends. And then when they got here, I went and I looked through her shop and previous things she'd had and her pictures on Facebook to figure out what the different blended ones I had were made of. And then that I mean, kind of matched them together based on that sort of. So this one is so sparkly, but it's a 2-ply. I don't usually do 2 plies. Most of my yarns are 3 plies. But one of the plies has sari silk and a viscose-based tweed, and then I think tussa silk and merino. I think it was the one called Birthday Cake, I think. And then the other ply was 2 things blended together. There's one that's a merino with lots of sparkle, and I believe it's called something to do with Elsa or Frozen, like something in that name range. And while the other one was an alpaca merino blend. So it's, I mean, it's got a lot of different fibers in it. Let's see. Tussa silk, sari silk, tweed, bamboo stuff, merino, alpaca. Right, okay, 5 things. But it is really soft and very, very sparkly. And I kind of like how it looks with this one. They're compatible. I don't really know what I'm going to make with them. This one does have more chunky bits because the lock spun into it, but the less chunky parts are similar in weight to this one. But on the other hand, this one's a 2-ply, while this one's a 3-ply, so they won't behave the same way. So it's probably best to keep them separate. I don't know yet. Yeah, I'll get these washed up, and I will think about what to do with them. My next video will probably be more spinning because that's really what I want to do right now. But I do have something on my loom that I'm working on, and I have 8, I think, crochet and or Tunisian crochet and or knitting projects in various states of completion. So those will all be posted as they get closer to being done. I don't actually have much time I can film, so I'll probably be filming Saturday. That's probably about it. I'm pretty tired. I started filming at 8 o'clock this morning, off and on. Started plying at 8 o'clock this morning. Plied until 11:30, left the house, picked up lunch, came home, plied for an hour, left the house, ran some errands, came home, plied for a couple hours, made dinner, and now I'm filming my last video and I'm very tired. So we'll see if I can get this edited before bed. Have a good night, everyone.